We are halfway through the year of 2026, and I just want to talk about all the books that I've read so far. But first, we're going to talk about the stats. I track everything in Storygraph. My Storygraph handle is at Read with Raquel with 2 L's, and I also leave reviews and ratings in Goodreads. However, I primarily track in Storygraph. I just like the UX way better than Goodreads, and you can do a lot more in Storygraph. I definitely recommend Storygraph if you have not tried that one yet. A lot of people use Fable. I've tried it before. I wasn't a huge fan. It was a few years back, but Storygraph is my preferred tracking system. So let's just get right into it. Starting us off, I read 46 books, which feels kind of crazy because last year I think in total I read about 80 something books. So the fact that I am still halfway to that is kind of crazy to me. I didn't have a goal for how many books I wanted to read. However, I did want to branch out into different genres this year, and I have definitely done that. So I'm very proud of myself for that. But I think 46 books is pretty good. So I'm kind of on track if I doubled that to be about 92 books, which would be kind of crazy if I hit that and be 80. I, again, don't have a goal, but if it happens, it happens. We had 20 standalones and then 26 books that were connected to a series in some way. The amount of books that I read per month varied vastly. Like some months were 2 books, some months were like 14 books. Let's start off with January. I read 4 books in January. In the month of February, I read 2 books. In the month of March, I read 14 books. April, I read 8 books. And then in May, I read 12. And then June, I read 6 because I just finished my 6th one today. That's why I feel like I'm on such a high from the book I read, but I'll tell you more about that later. Like I said, my goal for this year was to branch out into different genres. I've been reading a lot of fantasy the last few years, and I just wanted to try something new because it doesn't hurt. I feel like it's so good to expand your mind and go into different things maybe you wouldn't have read in the past or haven't read in the past or haven't thought about even reading. So I was really excited to do that. And so here are the different genres that I read. I will count them as if I read 5 or more of this genre, then that's how I'm counting as branching out. The first genre I went into was historical fiction. I read a few of them the past few years. However, I read 20 historical fictions. 7 or 8 of them were based off of the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon, which I absolutely love that series, so that's why that number was so high. Next genre was romance. I read 15 romance books. I think last year I might have read like 5 or 6. I typically used romance books as filler books in between different series because most of the fantasy series I read were so intense. I was pretty happy to be reading more romance this year. And for literary, we have 11 books. Honestly, I don't really know the difference between like literary and contemporary, so I'm gonna have to look that up. And 10 contemporary books, and that's what it said on Storygraph. So I'm just gonna go for it because it was over 5, but I definitely should look up what that actually means. And then for fantasy, I only read 8 fantasy books. I was watching a long form and short form content from Books with Gray. Absolutely love her channel. And she was talking about all the like fantasy books that she reads because she primarily reads fantasy. And it made me realize, okay, let me go back and see when the last fantasy book I read was. It was in April. Then the final genre was LGBTQIA+, and I read 6 of those books because they were from the Game Changer series. Oh my gosh, when I tell you I was obsessed with this series, I was obsessed. I did watch Heated Rivalry before I read the series, and I don't regret it honestly because now I had an idea of what Shane and Ilya looked like, and then Kip and Scott. But now that I have finished the series, I'm going to do a rewatch. Me and my friend are going to watch it again. Well, she's watching for the first time. I'm rewatching it. So I'm really excited to do that because I am craving a rewatch. Is going to be my most read authors. So for this, we have 4 of my most read authors. The first one is Beth Brower because of the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon. I read 8 of them because there's only 8 out. If there was more, I would have read more. She's going to be coming out with more eventually. So I just have to wait and see now. The next author I have is Elenia Argalea, and I read 5 of her books. 4 of them were part of a series, and one of them was a novella in that series. So these are all the Choosing Chronicles. Think of Love is Blind x Romantasy. I personally love Elenia. I am on her street team, so naturally I'm promoting her, but I also loved her before I became part of her team. That's how I got it, because I was like, I posted about you a lot because I'm a fan of you, just naturally. Third author is Rachel Reed, obviously for the Game Changer series. I read 6 of her books, therefore she is one of my most read authors of this year so far. The final author is Amelia Hart for Wayward and The Sirens. These are two magical realism books, and I listened to both of them. I honestly already want to reread Wayward, but specifically I would like to do it in a book format instead of an audiobook because I loved it so much. I want to read it in a different way. So I think that'll be a reread, maybe next year, maybe this year, who knows. Now we are done with the stats, and let's go through every single book that I read this year. There's 46, so this is going to be a long time. So we're going to start off with the series I read, and then I'll go into standalones. I feel like that'll just be an easier way to do it. So first off with the series, again, The Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon. So the year is 1883, and Emma M. Lyon has returned to her London neighborhood of St. Crispian. But Emma's plans for a charmed and studious life are sabotaged by her eccentric cousin Archibald, her formidable Aunt Eugenia, and slightly odd denizens of St. Crispian's. Emma M. Lyon offers her unselected journals, however self-incriminating, that may be, which comprise a series of novella-length volumes. Armed with wit and sideways amusement, Emma documents the curious realities of her life at Lapis Lazuli House. I definitely recommend it via audiobook. Genevieve Gaunt does an amazing job with the narration of it, and the publishers did a great job that actually created that audiobook. So I would recommend it. I know people have read it. If you haven't, definitely go on Beth Brower's. She has a Substack, and that is her newsletter. So I've been doing that. I don't pay for it, but I do get the free one. So it's really nice. And then also I follow Emma M. Lyon on Instagram and socials. The next series, like I mentioned, was The Choosing Chronicles by Elena Argalea. So the first book and the first duet within this series is going to be Brinley and Rikers. So book 1 and 2. Book 1 is A Game of Love and Betrayal. What's a vampire to do when the fae who made her an orphan is searching for a wife? What is a girl to do? Book number 2 is A Heart of Desire and Deceit, and how does one pick up the pieces of their life after it has been obliterated by the person they mistakenly trusted? Dun dun dun. And within that, it was book 1.5, which is A Song of Blood and Shadows. That was a novella. And then for the second duet, it is River and Nick's duet. So book 3 is A Curse of Stars and Storms. She has death at her fingertips, he's off limits, and he might be the only one that can ground her storm. And then for the fourth book, it is A Tempest of Wind and Fate. This one just recently came out, so you can already get it. The 2 duets are completed. Her storm has broken free, and he's the only one who can contain it. I love this series. I actually just bought both duets on her Etsy shop. So if you haven't been to her Etsy shop, you can. They are signed copies. I have her Ithenmere Chronicles right here, 2 volumes of it. They're 5 books, but I got it in 2 volumes. And then the final series, surprise, surprise, Game Changer by Rachel Reed. Book 1 is Game Changer. Book 2 is Heated Rivalry. Book 3 is Tough Guy. Book 4 is Common Goal. Book 5 is A Role Model. And then book 6 is The Long Game. In order of which ones I like the most. Don't judge me. Please don't judge me. Everyone has their own opinions. If I was going to go in order of which books I like the most, 100% The Long Game. I cried a few times when I was watching it. I don't think I have it up yet, but I will post a long form video of my reaction to that book. It was so good, honestly. So I would say The Long Game. And then I'm going to say Tough Guy. Don't come for me. I know it's so not something people are thinking. I don't know why though. It's so good. Common Goal, Heated Rivalry, Game Changer, and Role Models at the bottom, which is apparently so controversial. People have Role Model as their first one they love. I liked it. It was good. I have nothing against Troy and Harris, but I just wasn't a huge fan of their storyline. I'm sorry. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about standalones, shall we? Since we had 20 of them. So first we're going to start off going in chronological order of reading them. So the first one we have is Spinster, Making a Life of One's Own by Kate Bullock. I absolutely love this book. Do not take the name at face value. It is a really good one. Any girlies, I highly recommend reading it. The second book we read was the second book in the Red Queen series, Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. I did not continue this series, hoping I can be redeemed with Realm Breaker. It's actually the first time, actually that's a lie. I stopped midway through another series before. So it's not the first time, so we're chilling. Book number 3 is The Joylette Club by Amy Tan. I've been told to read this book for years, and I finally did it. I'm so glad I did. And immediately after, I went to the library and got the DVD and watched the movie a few days later. So I'm very glad I did that because the movie was so good. And just like comparing things when you read the book first to the movie is so much fun, but also it's good vice versa too. The next book we have is The Book of Gothel by Mary McNee. This one is basically a Tangled or Rapunzel retelling, but it is from Mother Gothel's point of view. Turns out Gothel is actually the building, not the lady. So didn't know that one. I'm pretty sure it's in the description, so I don't think I'm spoiling anything. If I am, I'm sorry. Next book we have is book 1 in the new series, the Avonlea series by Melissa K. Roach, and it is Tortured Souls. I love Roach's world that she's created. Lady of Darkness, the second one, is the Legacy series, and now the Avonlea series is the third series in the Chaos verse. You can go and start in any series, but that is just the order in which she has made the books. If you're not into fantasy, honestly, this might be a good one too to get into fantasy with because it feels so real. It's just more fun because there's magic involved, and we love magic. And then we have a completely different type of genre. We have Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson. I was so surprised with this one because it actually has short chapters. And when I say short chapters, I mean like one of the chapters was like a page, or they'd be 2 or 3 pages. I think the max amount of pages per chapter was like maybe 4 or 5. So that was something that I was definitely getting used to, but I am a huge fan of that. Who knew? Then we have Wayward by Amelia Hart and also The Sirens by Amelia Hart. I already chatted about those. We can move on to the next one. We have Dolly Parton's Songteller by Dolly Parton. This honestly felt like I was listening to a podcast, but it was a book. But I listened to it as an audiobook. So it was kind of fun. It was very easy to just have in the background. Then we have Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy. If you previously listened to Jeanette's memoir and you're planning on listening to Half His Age, don't. I'm just going to stop you right there. Don't do it. Read the book physically or on an ebook rather than listening to it because Jeanette does narrate it. And I feel like having her voice for the memoir, then also having her voice for this book, it just kind of messed me up. And I do wish I actually read it. So I can't really undo that now. And we have The Woman by Kristen Hanna. My goodness, this one was insane. The fact it was just a standalone and it did so much to me. So that was beautifully written, honestly. And it was a lot. But I'm glad I ended up actually reading it. It will probably be a few more years until I read another one of her books, to be completely transparent. That's how much it affected me. Then we have The Neighbor Favor. This is actually also book 1 in the series The Greenie Sister by Christina Forrest. I like this one a lot. My friend recommended it to me. It was a good palate cleanser. Very simple, not too complicated, standalone romance. It was a good palate cleanser, a good romance book. So I would definitely read book 2 in that for my next palate cleanser. We have a Demon Bounty. So this is in the Crescent Coven series by Lee Miller, and this series is interconnected standalones. So you can start at any point and read it. You can obviously start from book 1 and go on to the next ones, but I started with book 3. I do have book 1 and 2, and also she's coming out with book 4 soon, so I'm an ARC reader for that one, hopefully. I found her first through Nora's Kraken. Make sure you actually subscribe to all of these different authors' newsletters. It really helps you because sometimes they offer books for free only to their newsletter subscribers. So I would definitely recommend that. So I've gotten so many fantasy books. Fantasy for me, that's the only ones I'm subscribed to really. But a lot of stuff your ebook days, you just get a bunch of books for free or $1. So you get them at discounted prices. So definitely recommend. Little shout out to newsletter. We have Lady Tremaine, a breathtaking reimagining of Cinderella as told through the eyes of the iconic evil stepmother, revealing a propulsive love story about the lengths a mother will go for her children. So she is not evil in this. She's actually very kind. If you're looking for a Cinderella retelling though, I highly recommend Rise of the Cinder Fae by Whitney Dean. That's a good one. So the next one is The Lost Wife by Susanna Moore. This is one I listened to. I wanted one that was 2 or 3 hours long, and I found this one. It was way more intense than I was expecting, honestly. I thought it would just be some cute little book, and it was not. It was pretty intense. I was not expecting it, but it fulfilled what I wanted to. Why I wanted it to be 2 or 3 hours long, I honestly cannot even tell you because I don't remember. I have this lovely one by Ketanji Brown Jackson, and this was Ketanji's memoir. So I was really happy I got to listen to this one. It was 18 hours long, and I listened to it in 3 days. That's how good it was. I could not put it down. I was so excited to listen to it, and I was hooked from the moment I started it, clearly, because I finished it in 3 days. So I think that was pretty impressive. Next we have is The Correspondent by Virginia Evans, and this one another one I listened to and I regret listening to, not because the narrator or anything like that, but because I didn't realize that it was like literally letters was the whole book, even though it's literally titled The Correspondent. I just didn't put 2 and 2 together. So I do wish I read it with a physical or ebook instead of listening to it. So if you haven't read that one yet, would definitely recommend it. I told my aunt she should read it. I think she would like it a lot, and I told her to get the physical book. So hopefully she's going to take my advice for that one. Next we have is Release Me. This is book 2 in the Shatter Me, the New Republic series by Tara Maffey. Absolutely love this series. I have all of Shatter Me here now, minus the novellas. So if I'm ever out thrifting at the bookstore and I see the Shatter Me, the New Republic series, I will be grabbing those for myself because I like them so much. I'm so excited for this series to continue. I think book 3 comes out in October. Thank God. So that'll be part of my end of year read. We have is another historical fiction, The Marriage Portrait. This one is by Maggie O'Farrell. This is a good one. The ending actually really surprised me. I totally thought this was going to go really badly, but it ended up doing good. Next we have is Brooklyn, and this is the Elias Lacey series. This is book 1 in it. The other one I believe is called Long Island. This one's by Colm Tobin, and this is one my friend recommended to me. I was partially reading the book that she gave me and then listening to it as well, so I think it was a good way to do it. And then I actually watched the movie Brooklyn, so that was really fun to do that. Another one of those, read it and then watch it. Next we have is A Man Is No Woman by Toph Rum. I loved this one. I cried a few times in it too. I finished it while I was at the library crying, which, you can do whatever at the library. Copy of it at a bookstore for myself, and then I found another copy at a different bookstore and I sent it to my friend so she could read it. So I'm happy to have that one on my shelf as well. We have this one, The Wedding People, oh my gosh, by Alison Espach. I genuinely did not know what to expect with this. I've heard about it. I didn't think anything of it. My friend listened to it and she told me about it and I said, okay, I'll give it a try. Within 20 minutes, I was so surprised, and I did not read the description. I don't read the description for books, honestly. I just kind of say that sounds like a cool title or that is a cool cover picture, and that's it. So I was not expecting the plot, honestly, but it ended up being so good. I was laughing so much in it and crying at some points too, but it was a really good one. And then from that, Libby recommended to me my next book, which is Clementine Crane Prefers Not To by Kristen Bear. And this was hilarious too. Hilarious and also pretty messed up because it was a lot about women's healthcare in America. The next one I listened to was Homeseeking by Carissa Chen. I actually saw it at a library display and was going to pick it up, but then figured I should try to listen to it instead of read it. I do recommend reading it though. The narrators were great, but it was just a lot to remember, honestly. I think it was 20 something hours. I could be wrong, but it felt like a long time. So I would definitely, if I was going to reread it or read it for a first time, a physical or ebook version instead of listening to it. So that's my 2 cents. We have 3 more. We are getting there. We're getting it done. The third to last one is The Last Girl, Story of Captivity and My Fight Against the Islamic State by Nadia Murad. This was a very intense one for sure. I read this one and I feel like I learned so much. I love these kinds of memoirs or biographies because I get to learn about people in other places and how they have just coped with life and gone through life and their story. So I definitely am going to be reading more memoirs and biographies and autobiographies because I think it's so important to learn about other people. Second to last book that I read is The Ungrateful Refugee, What Immigrants Never Tell You by Dina Nayeri. This is one that I listened to. It was actually my last listen of the first half of the year. For the month of June, I decided to not listen to audiobooks. I'm very glad. I just need a little cleanse from them because I was distracted so much by listening to them. I just kind of wanted to sit with my thoughts. So this was my last one that I listened to. Pretty intense, honestly, to be the last one to listen to for the half of the year, but I'm really glad I did. It was an autobiography and biography, so I learned a lot, and I actually found this one at the library too. So I picked this one up from the bookstore, and now I have it for myself to give to other people as well. It was amazing. I definitely did feel like I learned what immigrants don't tell you because it's stuff I wouldn't have known. The final one is Tokyo Dreaming. This is in the Tokyo Ever After series. That is book number 1. So this is book number 2, and this one is by Amiko Jean. she apparently goes like all over. She does not stay in a lane. She goes into so many different genres, and I honestly love that for her. I definitely will have to read one of her other books. I read Tokyo Ever After, I believe, last year, and I saw Tokyo Dreaming available. Knew definitely have to grab that. I am very happy with how it ended. I was kind of rooting for that, for what had happened, so I was happy with the outcome of it. And it was one that I really enjoyed, and it was another kind of like palate cleanser after my intense last few books that I needed to just cleanse my brain. Believe it or not, that is all the books that I read. So 46 books, multiple different genres, lots going on. If you liked this video, make sure to like it and subscribe if you want to. And then comment down below what books I read that you read too, or if there's one that you'd be interested in reading. I would love to know. And that, I will see you in the next video, and I hope you had a good time. Bye.